morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup, dateline at 23rd of September 2023. This week's headlines. Mahsa Amini's father was detained on the anniversary of her death. Also on Mahsa's death anniversary, some of Iran's women say, "I wear what I like now." Over 100 members of persecuted religious minorities are being detained at the Turkish border. New York City mosques are now allowed to broadcast the call to prayer without a permit. It's impossible to be American and Muslim, according to Islamic spokespersons. There is a quest to bring a priest charged with torture in Argentina to justice. Soldiers of God lead a violent assault on a Lebanese drag event. Chick-fil-A are to try again to open in the UK 4 years after the LGBT backlash from their last attempt. Trump abortion backlash spotlights a Republican balancing act. And the real reason why Representative Lauren Boebert was kicked out of the theatre. On the anniversary of her death, the father of Mahsa Amini was temporarily detained by Iranian security forces in an attempt to stop people gathering at her grave amid strikes and protests across the country. The Kurdistan Human Rights Network said the security forces released Amjad Amini after briefly detaining him and warning him against marking the anniversary of his daughter's death. The family said they wanted to hold a traditional religious ceremony. Amini was told at the intelligence department that the family do not have the right to leave the house and go to the grave, and they should not participate in the anniversary ceremony. In many districts of Tehran, protesters chanted slogans such as "Death to the Dictator" and "Woman, Life, Freedom." Some gathered on the roofs of residential buildings or stood on their balconies. As night fell on Saturday, a heavy security force presence appeared to have deterred large-scale protest rallies, but human rights groups reported a sporadic confrontation in several areas of the country. A young woman walks down the street in Tehran, her hair uncovered, her jeans ripped, a bit of midriff exposed to the hot Iranian sun. An unmarried couple walk hand in hand. A woman holds her head high when asked by Iran's once feared morality police to put a hijab on, and she tells them, "Screw you." These acts of bold rebellion, described by several people in Tehran over the past month, would have been almost unthinkable to Iranians this time last year. Women have found new ways to defy the regime. A Western diplomat in Tehran estimates that across the country, an average of about 20% of women are now breaking the laws of the Islamic Republic by going out on the streets without the veil. Things have changed so much since last year, a 20-year-old music student in Tehran told over an encrypted social media platform. She is one of the many women who now refuse to wear the veil in public. "I still can't believe the things I now have the courage to do. We've become so much bolder and braver. Even though I feel scared to my bones whenever I walk past the morality police, I keep my head up and pretend I haven't seen them," she says. "I wear what I like now when I go out." But she quickly adds that the stakes are still high and she is not reckless. "I wouldn't wear shorts, and I always carry a headscarf in my bag in case things get serious." She tells me that she knows of women who have been raped in custody and cites reports of a woman sentenced to wash corpses as a punishment for not wearing the hijab. On May the 24th, 104 members of a minority religious group arrived at the Turkish-Bulgarian border expecting to find asylum. Instead, they were met with clubs and gunfire. They started getting attacked by the Turkish border guards. They started beating them with batons, said a United Kingdom-based member who was at the scene. And it was very much like a war zone. There was blood everywhere. Almost 4 months later, the asylum seekers, including more than 20 children, are still being detained in Turkey, hoping to make their way into the European Union. The asylum seekers say they left their countries of origin due to religious persecution. They are members of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, a small minority religious group which was established in 1999, and they see their faith as an extension of Islam. They believe one of their leaders, Abdullah Hashem Abba al-Sadiq, is the Mahdi, a messianic figure and divine messenger who will bring salvation. The asylum seekers presented themselves at the Chick-fil-A border crossing, hoping to gain entry into the European Union by way of Bulgaria, but were instead herded into buses and taken to a Turkish police station. Witnesses reported that at the station, several group members were beaten, and women and children were forced to stand outside without sleep and without sitting or lying down for 3 days. The group's leader, Abba al-Sadiq, published The Goal of the Wise in 2022, a book of teachings faith members' view of their gospel. Many of the faith's teachings, including its affirmation of reincarnation and the belief that we are living in the end times, and an assertion that the Kaaba is in Petra, Jordan, are viewed by outsiders as controversial. In an April 2023 sermon, Abba al-Sadiq declared that he is the messenger sent by God to invite humankind into the final covenant with God, a covenant that would save them from the imminent punishment of humanity via illness, meteors, and global wars. Hadil El-Kuli, the human rights outreach coordinator for the group, said, "The faith is often perceived as being radical because of its progressive teachings, including that women are not mandated to wear a headscarf, and members don't need to do the 5 daily prayers, and the group is open to LGBTQ people." New York Mayor Eric Adams recently announced that mosques will no longer need a permit to publicly broadcast the Azan, the Muslim call to prayer, on Fridays and during Ramadan. See this video.
New York City mosques now allowed to broadcast call to prayer without permit. In a move that prioritizes one religion over others and blurs the line between church and state, New York City Mayor Eric Adams recently announced that mosques will no longer need a permit to publicly broadcast the Azan, or the Muslim call to prayer, on Fridays and during Ramadan. While Adams claims that this will foster inclusivity, it raises concerns about the separation between church and state and a principle that Adams has previously publicly dismissed, saying state is the body, church is the heart. You take the heart out of the body dies. This decision not only sets a dangerous precedent, but disrupts the delicate balance between religious freedoms in a city home to a diverse array of faiths. As Afaf Nasher, executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE for short, New York's chapter, stated, quote, "The sound of the Azan is not just a call to prayer. It's a call to unity, reflection, and community." It's important to question if this move truly promotes unity and community for all New Yorkers, regardless of their faith or beliefs.
Multiple Muslim leaders expressed their intention to rule America. See this video.
To be a true Muslim, you have to believe in Islam as a religion and as a state. So it is impossible for someone to be a true Muslim and a true American at the same time. Because Muslims always look to live under Islamic Sharia, not under American Constitution. I am one of them. Trust me. I know him. I was very involved with my Muslim community for the first 10 years here in the United States. And I heard them a million times saying that we are here to eventually replace the American Constitution with Islamic Sharia. And believe me, their concept of time is different than your concept. They're well trained to be patient. If not this year, after 100 years. If not after 100, after 1 million, we will take over. This is their mentality. This is their concept of religion. Religion is a state for them.
In that long-range process of making America Muslim, all of America Muslim.
Do believe as Muslims, the East and the West will one day be governed by the Sharia. The flag of Islam will fly over the White House.
إيطاليا والله هنفتح إيطاليا وهنخش أوروبا والإسلام يخش المنطقة دي كلها. حتى أمريكا يا شيخ سالم والله حتى أمريكا. الشمالية ولا الجنوبية؟ الشمالية والجنوبية.
The last 20 years, I've been doing strategic planning for governments. And our mission is to inculcate Islamic values in the heart of every American, solely for Allah's pleasure.
It's all in this book, 2064.
This is our vision for 50 years.
Shocking violence in Manipur broke out earlier this year between the Hindu Meitei community and minority Kuki groups, marked by brutal killings and sexual crimes against women. More than 200 people have been killed. Roughly 2/3 of them are Kukis, a collective name for the Kuki, Zomi, Chin, Hamar and Mizo groups, who are mostly Christians. On the 4th of May, 2 Kuki Zomi women were paraded naked by a mob of Meitei men. The younger woman was allegedly gang raped. Her father and 19-year-old brother were beaten to death. Their mother says, "To see how my daughter was treated after my husband and son were killed, it made me want to die. My husband was a church elder. He was soft-spoken and kind. His arms were slashed with knives. My son was in the 12th grade, a gentle boy who never fought with anyone. He was brutally beaten with rods," she sobbed as she spoke. "He was killed because he ran after the mob to try to save his sister. My daughter has not recovered. They were killed in front of her. 4 months on, the Meiteis and Kukis are completely physically segregated, forbidden to enter areas the other dominates." Survivors of crimes committed by the 1970s military junta in Argentina are fighting to see a priest stand trial for his alleged role in kidnappings and torture against opponents of the regime. The moment I saw Franco Reverberi, the priest from my village, come in, was the moment I thought I was going to die, recalls Mario Bracamonte. I was lying on the floor, soaked in blood after a night of torture. He came in, dressed in his military uniform, and looked at me impassively. I could not believe it. Father Franco Reverberi, an Italian national by birth, had been a regular at the clandestine detention centre. They said that rather than helping the prisoners, he would watch them being tortured, sometimes holding a Bible while he was telling them that it was God's will that they provide their torturers with the information they were after. Following the testimony of the 4 former detainees, Franco Reverberi, who has denied any wrongdoing, was charged in October 2010. However, he never appeared in court. The priest boarded a flight to his home country in May 2011. So by the time he was summoned in June 2011 to give his version of events before a court, he was out of reach of the Argentine judiciary. He settled in Sorbello, a small town in northern Italy from where the priest's family had emigrated when he was just 11 years old. There, he regularly celebrates Mass, and many of the town's 10,000 residents would rather not talk about the accusations which have been levelled against the priest. 25-year-old student Manuel Furlan says he was deeply ashamed when he found out that a person accused of those crimes, and a priest at that, was originally from and lives in my village. Mr. Furlan wants to see Franco Reverberi extradited to Argentina so he can face trial and can be found guilty or innocent. Argentina has long requested that the priest be sent back to stand trial. In a harrowing act of violence, the Soldiers of God, an extremist Christian paramilitary group, unleashed an onslaught on a Beirut bar, bar room, during a drag event, epitomizing the escalating wave of hatred and bigotry against the LGBTQIA+ community in Lebanon. See this video.
Lead violent assault on Lebanese drag event. In a harrowing act of violence, the Soldiers of God, an extremist Christian paramilitary group, unleashed an onslaught on a Beirut bar called the Bar Room during a drag event, epitomizing the escalating wave of hatred and bigotry against the LGBT community in Lebanon. The group, notorious for promoting violence and endorsing far-right ideologies akin to those in Europe and the US, besieged and attacked the bar, wreaking havoc on the property and assaulting attendees while bellowing, "This shop is for Satan. It's promoting homosexuality. It's forbidden in the land of the Lord." Eyewitness accounts reveal apathy from the police, who, despite being present during the assault, chose to question the bar owner and the attendees about the performance rather than intervene. This latest assault is part of a broader pattern of attacks and heightened anti-LGBT rhetoric from religious and political leaders in a country once celebrated for its religious diversity. This incident lays bare the mounting challenges confronting the LGBT community, not just in Lebanon, but across the Middle.
Chick-fil-A aims to open 5 restaurants in the UK. The American fast food chain met with protests from the gay community last time it opened in the UK, but it is planning to have another go. The sites have not yet been chosen, but the first will open in early 2025. Its previous foray into the UK market in 2019 faced a boycott over its founders' support for Christian groups that are opposed to same-sex marriage. On Monday afternoon, the president of Students for Life sent an open letter to former President Donald Trump, who is the definitive frontrunner for the Republican Party's 2024 nomination. The tone was displeased and scolding. It said Students for Life would pause its $5 million door-knocking campaign meant to rally anti-abortion voters in the 2024 race until Mr. Trump clarified his comments in a recent interview on NBC's Meet the Press, which had aired the day before. Mr. Trump attacked his chief Republican rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, for his state's 6-week abortion ban. The 6-week ban is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake, Trump said. But when pressed by host Kristen Welker on his own position, Mr. Trump ducked. Would he support a 15-week federal ban, widely considered the minimum standard by anti-abortion groups? "I'm not going to say I would or I wouldn't," Mr. Trump replied. The backlash was swift. Marjorie Dannen-Felser, president of the influential anti-abortion group SBA Pro-Life America, issued a statement saying anything later than a 15-week ban makes no sense, and Students for Life president Kristen Hawkins wrote her letter threatening to pull her group's 1,000 volunteers off Trump's campaign trail. The pro-life vote is up for grabs, Ms. Hawkins said. More than 1 year after Mr. Trump's Supreme Court nominees helped deliver anti-abortion activists their long-sought victory overturning Roe v. Wade, Republicans are scrambling to find a position on abortion that placates their base without alienating the broader public. And Lauren Boebert, the US representative for Colorado, who is famous for promoting Christian standards of purity, has issued an apology after being kicked out of a theater during a performance of the musical Beetlejuice in Denver for inappropriate behavior. Boebert and a male guest accompanying her were ejected from the musical on the 10th of September for vaping, recording video, and disturbing other patrons during the Sunday performance. Video showed them eagerly groping each other while in their seats. See this.
In Congress, but there was some of that fear with her male companion. A lot of, let's say they were handsy in their behavior. So Katty K, as we marvel again at the flash photos and the vaping and the, other lewd behavior, let's call it groping. Just another example of Republican hypocrisy to you?
I'm just glad that I'm not the one being asked to describe what groping means. Look,
Stay on this channel to watch Tersia and I chat with guest Momus Najmi, an ex-Muslim who is joining us on the Free Thought City Productions team. It's a live show, so you can join in. And don't forget to watch Views on the News, the show where our opinionated panel give their views on the items I've just reported. This has been Global Atheist News. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching.